to recipe number 3, class number 3 here. So the first week we made a delicious anytime burrito.
Yeah.
Which again, covered a lot of the micro and macronutrients needed for a balanced diet. Last week was my favorite. The mango salsa was absolutely delightful. And the one thing I really liked about the snacks that we created last week was that they were very nutrient dense and had a relatively low caloric intake, right? And I know one mistake that we can kind of get caught up in with snacking is those empty calorie snacks, right? Those really high calorie snacks, chips, Cheetos, things like that have a ton of calories in them and not much nutrients for the body, right? And so I really liked how it was very low calorie, but it had a lot of nutrients, and the best part is it absolutely tasted fantastic. So really excited about this week. Today we're going to be talking about
whole grains and fiber.
Wow. Very cool. We haven't talked much about fiber over the first couple classes, so I'm excited to share a little bit more with you about the fiber and how it's important for the body and where it's at within all of this stuff here. So again, my name is Ben Ranciere with the Project Healthy Schools team, and
I'm Chloe, and I'm a public health student at Michigan, also working with Ben at Project Healthy Schools.
All right, and so you can see we have quite a spread here. So the first thing we're going to do is help you kind of get all your materials lined up, because we've got a few more materials here that we've had the first couple weeks. And so Chloe, why don't you take us through all of the different stuff that we're going to be using for today's recipe.
All right, so today we have quite a spread, but it's going to be delicious. So for our Ratatouille pasta, we're going to have pasta, and it's whole grain pasta. So that's kind of where our base is with our whole grain lesson today. We're going to have a can of diced tomatoes, some olive oil, an eggplant, an onion. It can be a red onion, yellow onion, white onion, whichever kind of onion you have. Zucchini, yellow squash. You can use garlic powder or you can use garlic cloves. Garlic cloves can be cheaper, but garlic powder stays good for longer. So it's kind of whichever you'd prefer. We're gonna have some Italian herb seasoning, which can have like basil, oregano, rosemary, thyme, kind of just a blend of a bunch of different seasonings. And we're gonna have salt and pepper. We're gonna have a spatula, our nice safety knives, a cutting board. We're going to have a half a teaspoon as well as a half tablespoon. You're going to want to have a measuring cup with 1 cup of water. You're going to want a nice big pot like this. That's what we're going to cook everything in for this one pot recipe. We're going to have a can opener, and I think that's everything.
Wow, so what I want you to first notice, again, we've talked a lot about balanced meals, right, and eating a variety of micronutrients. So I want you to notice all the different colors that we have here. This beautiful yellow squash, green zucchini, white onion, beautiful purple eggplant. We have red tomatoes. So again, really trying to get us used to eating a variety of colors as we think about fruits and vegetables. That really helps our body function at its best, helps us feel our best, because our bodies are getting all of the nutrients that it craves. All right, so what are we going to get started with here first? Again, before we start, Chloe, I'm sorry, but feel free to pause the video, check that recipe sheet that was in your bag, make sure that you have all your materials ready so you're not kind of scrambling as we go throughout. So if you need a couple minutes to get all these materials lined up and ready for you, please go ahead and pause the video. When you're ready, turn us back on, and Chloe's going to start us off with?
We're going to start off with our eggplant. So also, if you're on your pause still, make sure you're washing your zucchini, your eggplant, your yellow squash. Everything else is okay. This onion, we have our foil, or this outside layer that we can take off, and also make sure that we're washing our hands before you do that as well. So we're going to grab everything over here. All right, so let's start off with our eggplant. So you're going to first start off by cutting off this top end. You don't really need this. Remember, with our cutting, you want to cut away from your body. You don't want to cut towards yourself. And with our eggplant, we're just going to start making about 1/2-inch cubes. So you can slice it first in these nice big pieces.
Anybody having an eggplant for the very first time here?
Yeah.
This is so cool.
I know. Eggplants are really great. So eggplants are nice and juicy. They're kind of thicker. They're kind of spongy if you feel it. So a lot of people, if you don't eat meat, can use eggplant as kind of a meat alternative. It has that kind of juicy, squishy feeling like some meats do. So again, we're gonna cut this. I'm gonna cut this last piece. And you can throw away this other end. Next, you're gonna cut all of these into little cubes. So again, 1/2-inch cubes. Our measurements don't need to be perfect. Just cut and slice first.
And again, depending on your comfort level, we've been using the knife now for a couple weeks, so if you're feeling a little bit more confident and comfortable with the knife, as Chloe's doing here, feel free to stack up a couple. It'll save you a little bit of time as moving forward. If you're still kind of getting used to it, hey, that's okay. You're just going to take one at a time, kind of cube it up as we're seeing here in the video, and then when you're ready, go on to the next one. So wow, we're getting a lot of cubes here out of this eggplant.
Eggplants are really great. They have fiber in them. So the actual inside fruit itself as well as the skin has fiber. So you're going to notice with this recipe that we're not going to be peeling the skins. There is a lot of good nutrients in there. Eggplants also have some magnesium, some antioxidants, folate, again like those micronutrients we were talking about last week.
Okay, wow.
Last one. Lots of good stuff with this.
Love that purple color.
All right, so next we're gonna take our olive oil. We're gonna shake it up a little bit. We're gonna bring it to our pot. You're gonna wanna put 2 to 3 tablespoons. We have a sprayer, so you can either spray this into a tablespoon if you would like and do 3 of those, or you can just spray it directly in there. So you're gonna wanna really spray it, get that bottom nice and coated up. Looks good. If it's not, you can add a little bit more in there. We're going to turn on our stoves. You're going to want to put it to about a medium heat. You don't want it too hot. You don't want it to boil over.
So similar to that where we had it, we're sauteing our vegetables during recipe 1, right?
Yep.
Just kind of a medium heat here.
Yep. You're going to take your eggplant. Our cutting boards are nice because they have this little, they're flexible. You can pour all of our eggplant in there. All right, and then just to be safe, we don't want things to stick, which is why we're using this olive oil. I'm just gonna spray a little bit more on there.
Okay.
You can take your spatula, mix things up nice and easy. All right, now we're gonna add our can of tomatoes. So, you use your can opener. Have you used a can opener before? Maybe not, this could be your first time. So, you wanna be really careful. You're gonna open it up. You wanna put these 2 pieces along the edge of the can, squish down nice and firm.
Which are obviously very sharp as it's cutting through the metal here. So make sure you're keeping your fingers around the moving parts here on the inside as you rotate it around to cut the top of that can.
All right, and you don't wanna cut it all the way. You're gonna be very careful and lift this inner edge. This sharp edge can cut you, so be careful. You're gonna take this whole thing, just pour it right in there, all the juices too.
Ooh, sizzle, sizzle.
You're gonna take your spatula, just kind of mix it up a little bit. Try to get all those juices flowing. All right, and then we're gonna let this kind of sit here while we're cutting our other vegetables. And again, remember from the last couple of weeks, when you're using the stove, you wanna make sure this inner side is in, the handle's inside so you don't knock it over. All right. Now we're going to cut our zucchini and our yellow squash. We're going to cut both of these in the same way. So we're going to cut them into what we call half moons. So you're going to cut off both ends.
Now the cool thing about our zucchini here and our squash is these are very commonly grown right here on our own state of Michigan.
Yeah.
Right? And so you're going to see these readily available throughout the course of the summer, which also helps bring the price down when they're grown so locally, right? So there's not those transport costs of having them grown somewhere across the United States, and then we have to have them shipped to here on a truck. They're grown right here, highly accessible, and again, loaded with a lot of different vitamins and nutrients, important part of a healthy, balanced diet.
Right, they have some vitamin C, some zinc, vitamin B6, there's lots of B vitamins. All right, so to cut these, you're gonna hold this. If you'd like, you can either cut it down straight down like I did with the zucchini, or you can cut it into smaller pieces. Might be a little bit safer and a little bit easier to cut. And then you can cut that piece in half, and this piece in half. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna slice it. So, as we've been doing, if it's easier for you, you can just cut one piece at a time. You're just gonna slice it to create these little half moon shapes.
Notice the direction the knife is moving. Moving down and away from the body.
So if you want to make things a little bit quicker, you can grab both ends of your zucchini and yellow squash and cut them at the same time. It will save a little bit of time, but you want to be safe, so do whatever you are most comfortable with. We're going to take these, add those to our pot.
Wow, quite the rainbow we're creating inside of that pot.
Oh yeah, mix it up just a little bit. Now we're going to come over back to our yellow squash. You're going to do that same thing.
So slicing into little half moon shapes here, it's looking like.
Yeah, and like Ben was saying, zucchini and squash are both grown in Michigan in the summer. These are great grilled, so you can put them on the grill. You can saute them like we do with the peppers and onions on the first week. You can bake them in the oven, get them nice and crispy. Or you can do what we're doing and kind of put them in like it's not quite a soup, it's kind of like a pasta dish, so they can get nice and warm. Delicious. Adding veggies like this is a great way when you're having some pasta to make a balanced meal. So you can add all kinds of veggies. Good. Dump those in. And we're just going to mix it up a little bit. Everything's getting nice and juicy. Those tomatoes.
So here, seeing the pot's getting pretty full, right? What if I've made the mistake, which I have done many times? I haven't selected a pot that's big enough. And as I start adding things in, it starts to get a little full, right? And then I start to stir it around, and before I know it, now things are kind of flopping out of my pan. Right. So what do you recommend here? Do I take a quick pause and get myself a bigger pot?
You can either get yourself a bigger pot, or with this recipe we're doing the vegetables and then the pasta. So you can actually cook the pasta separately. So what I'm actually going to do with our pot, you see it's pretty full, I'm going to grab another one.
Okay. Excellent. So if you need to give us a quick pause, please do. Finish slicing up each of your zucchini and your squash and adding it to your pan. Once you have everything added to your pan, go ahead and rejoin us. But now might be a good time to pause and catch up if need be.
All right.
All right, here we go.
So with our zucchini and squash, we're going to add some salt and pepper. So with your salt, you're going to add half a teaspoon of each. Just pour those right into the measuring spoons. Sprinkle it over. All right, and then we're going to mix this up.
Again, salt often really does get a bad rap, right? But our body needs salt, right? It's part of that sodium-potassium pump that actually helps our heartbeat,
right?
All right? But again, we want to make sure that we're limiting our salt intake because too much salt can have detrimental effects on the body as well.
Right. Especially with your heart because it's a part of that pumping system. All right, so now we're going to add our garlic. So if you have your garlic powder, you're going to do a half a teaspoon of it. If not, you can use real garlic cloves. So one of the best ways to use these garlic cloves to get this skin off, you can press down with your knife. And it kind of helps the skin come off really easy. So you can either dig your nails in there. You want to get all this flaky stuff off. All right. To cut your garlic, you're just going to be super tiny pieces.
Taking your time, going nice and slow, protecting those fingers. Once you get it all sliced, then you're just going to kind of continue to chop it up, pile it up, keep chopping it until you get into really, really tiny little pieces.
All right. And then add that to your pot.
Excellent.
All right. And again, like last week with any type of produce, to buy these when you're at the grocery store, you want to make sure they're nice and firm. You want to make sure the colors are nice. They don't have any bruises on them. Just like we get bruises, if these vegetables and fruits get dropped, they can get mushy and kind of gross.
And if they do get bruised up, they're gonna start to rot out a lot faster.
Yep.
So make sure you just kind of do your diligence, check them out, making sure that they're free of any clear signs of bruising or small cuts, things like that.
All right. So next, we're gonna add our whole grain pasta. Open up your box. Now you can use the whole thing if you'd like. You can also just use half. I'm going to use just half since our pot's a little bit full, but you can do whatever's best for you. Just going to pour that in there. Yep.
All right.
Then we're going to take our water. Just going to pour that over.
Now, how much water did we just add there?
We just added 1 cup of water.
1 cup. All right, 1 cup of water.
And we're just going to mix those noodles in. You want to get them a little bit deeper so that they're in that liquid. And if you want to add more water, you definitely can. It's not going to hurt anything. All right. Now we're going to take that. We're going to turn it up just a little bit because we want to get this nice and boiling. All right.
Okay.
I'm going to actually add a little bit more water to ours.
And what makes you want to add a little bit more water? Should I be able to see the water, or should it be at a certain height?
Right. So you want to make sure that all of this is just covered by a little bit of water. So as you can see, I did that. Everything has some water touching it. We're going to keep mixing this while it's boiling over. We're going to let this sit for a little bit. And we're going to talk about whole grains.
Okay.
Alrighty, so as you can see here, this is going to be what makes the difference between a whole grain and a refined grain. So if you look at the picture, a whole grain has bran around that edge.
This up here.
So the bran is that outer edge. It has tons of fiber in it and those B vitamins. So when refined grains are refined, they're processed. When this happens, that bran comes off. What also comes off is what you see, that inner core, which is the germ. That germ also has lots of nutrients in it. So it has those B vitamins as well as some vitamin E, some phytochemicals, which are just another mineral that help our body with just our daily regulation systems. And those whole grains have some healthy fats in them. So when we're talking about our balanced meals, we want to make sure that we have our carbs, our fats, our proteins, all of that makes something healthy. So like we talked about last week with our micronutrients, when we use these, a lot of our snacks have refined grains in them. So we take out a lot of this nutrients, all those B vitamins, that healthy fat, and what we're left with is the endosperm. And that is our main carbohydrate part of our whole grain. So when we take out all of that fiber and all of those vitamins, we're just left with some carbs. It does have some protein, but it's lacking all of the nutrients that come with it. So that's why we want to change to whole grains.
Now, also, whole grains break down much slower in the body, right? So they help control our blood sugar levels, right? So we don't get those spikes. A lot of times when we eat refined grains, it breaks down very quickly in the body. It releases a lot of sugar inside the body, and we get kind of those sugar spikes. So another important component of a whole grain is that it breaks down much slower. It helps us feel fuller for a longer length of time. It's not having us want to go grab a snack in an hour. It's going to just kind of help our bodies feel more satisfied for longer periods of time.
All right. Real quick, you just want to check on your pot real quick.
Oop.
We want to make sure we're starting to see some bubbling. So we're just going to give everything a quick little stir. Get all of those noodles touching some water to get them nice and soft. So again, with whole grains, they also have fiber in them. Fiber is also part of regulating your sugars, keeps you full for longer, it helps with your digestive system. So fiber, a lot of Americans don't get enough fiber, which is why switching your pasta from regular refined grains to whole grains is really helpful. Everyone needs about 20 to 30 grams of fiber. Americans just don't get that. So we can have digestive issues, we're not full for long, we get those spikes of sugar that we're really excited, and then we just crash.
So breads too. Breads is another opportunity to switch from a refined grain, white bread, to a whole grain bread as well.
Right.
Get more fiber into our diet.
And even if you're making sweets, sweets are okay in moderation, but if you're baking a cake using whole grain flour instead of white flour, that also can be a healthy little swap.
Excellent. So I'm seeing some bubbles over there. That's a good sign. Check yours out. Are you seeing bubbles in yours? If you are, that means it's starting to boil. So now that we get it up to a boil, are we adjusting our heat? Are we keeping it the same?
You can turn up the heat a little bit just to get a little bit more boiling going. If your pot is really getting a little bit crazy, you can turn the heat down. You do want to see some bubbles though, as you see here. Everything is just cooking, that water is getting hot and the air is coming up and cooking everything down.
And I'm noticing a lot more intensified aroma too, right? As
Right.
it kind of starts to break down, we're really starting to smell it, and it smells delightful.
Right. Now with that, we're gonna add our Italian herb seasoning. So, the fun thing with this one pot recipe is that, as you see, we're using one pot. It's less dishes. Everything is getting all the same flavor at once. It's really great. So we're gonna take our Italian seasoning. We're gonna do a half a teaspoon of it. Shake that in there. Pour it over. When you have a boiling pot, you do want to be careful. It gets a little bit hot on top of it, so just watch your hands. You want to keep your face back. I know it looks really pretty and you want to look over it, but
It does look beautiful. Loving all the different
Lots of
colors we're
colors.
seeing in there.
all
Now,
right.
ratatouille pasta. That makes me think of one of my favorite movies, actually. Ratatouille. I don't know if anybody's out there seen Ratatouille, but a fantastic movie.
It is.
All about.
Ratatouille.
Yeah.
So ratatouille is typically a French dish. All of our ingredients are sliced really thinly and it's layered and you bake it. This is an alternative. We added in those pasta to just kind of round out and make our balanced meal. And so we chopped everything up. All the flavors still there. We have the squash, the eggplant, tomatoes, everything's delicious, and it's one pot. So with this, and we also want to focus on seasoning. So we used this Italian seasoning, we used our garlic, we used our salt and pepper. All of these seasonings really take fruits and vegetables, which are delicious as is, but they really add some different flavors to it. Ben, do you have any favorite spices or seasonings?
Well, actually, I love the Italian seasoning here. I use that a lot at home. I do love garlic as well, so
Yeah.
I tend to accent a lot of the things I make at home with garlic because it is good for the body. It's low calorie, and I love the taste of it.
Right. And that's the thing with spices is that they are a really low caloric way to add lots of delicious flavors to your meals. I love Italian seasoning as well. One of my favorite parts in it is basil. Have you ever tried growing a basil plant?
I have, yes.
I
Yes,
have too, and it has not worked out. But that's why we use these dry herbs. We don't have to worry about having a green thumb. They are fun to have, though.
Actually, last year for the first time, I grew zucchinis at home, and that was really neat. The zucchinis got really big,
Yeah.
which was great. But I was just able to kind of cut them, and I threw them on the grill,
Yeah.
grilled them up with a little pepper on them. Wow, were they great side dish.
Yeah, and some other seasonings that you can use to round out some dishes. Cinnamon is a really great one. You can add cinnamon to like oatmeal. It's nice in the fall. It has that nice earthy but sweet flavor, so you can add it to like sweet potatoes and chicken. Kind of just makes a fall flavor. Another one is cumin. We did use that making our breakfast burritos.
That was delicious.
Yeah, cumin has a nice earthy, it's a little bit smoky. It's a nice flavor, it adds good touch. It's a little spicy, but not, it's more of like a warm spice, not a hot, go quick grab water spice.
Okay, so how do we know when our pasta is getting ready to be done here?
Yeah, so you're gonna look at your pasta. One of the best ways to look at it, so when you're cooking pasta, it's really about how you like your pasta. Some people like their pasta to be a little bit firm, which is called al dente. Al dente is just, it has a little bit of a bite to it. Other people like to boil theirs for longer, and that makes the noodle super squishy. You do want to be careful with that though. If you get too squishy, it just kind of turns into like a mess of dough. I'm gonna look for a spoon real quick. I'm gonna check on our noodles. Alright, so if you're super duper careful, you can use a fork or knife or spoon, and you're gonna scoop your noodle. I'm gonna not do that.
And we're just gonna check it for.
We're gonna check it for its firmness. So you can bring it over to your cutting board. If you're super careful, it could be hot. You're just gonna squeeze it. So if you see with this noodle, if you just squeeze it like this, it's a little bit chewy. You can eat it. I think it's done.
All right.
It's nice and squishy. It has a little bit of a bite to it. We're just gonna mix it up one last time. And turn that off. Oh yeah, I smell all the good flavors in here.
Smells delightful.
All right, so as you can see, our ratatouille pasta is nice and done. So a couple of modifications you can make to this. If you have some red wine vinegar or white wine vinegar at home, you can add like 2 tablespoons of that to it. Red wine vinegars are also another low caloric way to add lots of good flavor to foods. You could also, to add a little bit of protein, you could add some mozzarella cheese, you could add grilled chicken. Again, if you add that grilled chicken, it adds that protein to it, helping us create a nice balanced meal. And this ratatouille pasta, it can be made hot or cold. So like we were saying earlier, you can grill all of these vegetables and make a nice like pasta salad where it's cool, it has all these flavors, but it's nice and it's a chilled grilled vegetable salad.
Nice in the summertime, right? Having it like that where it's really hot out, so I don't necessarily want like a hot meal, but in the wintertime when it's a little cold out.
Yeah, nice warm pasta dish.
Yes, excellent. Wow. So again, got ourselves a really nice balanced meal. Chloe's shared with us a few ways to add a little bit of protein in it. I love the chicken idea.
Yeah.
Personally, adding a little bit of that. And so let's think about our My Plate here. So we have some vegetables, right? We had zucchini, we had squash. What else do we got in there?
We have our eggplant, we have the tomatoes.
Eggplant. Wow, a lot of good stuff. And we have our whole grain pasta. So think about what are some other ways that you can incorporate some more whole grains into the foods that you eat instead of those refined grains. Chloe shared with us some really good reasons why we want to include more whole grains, right? So we get more fiber, it breaks down slower in our body, helps us maintain our blood sugar levels, helps us feeling good throughout the course of the day. Right. So we hope you enjoy. We hope that you share this delicious meal that you've cooked with your family and friends. And we hope that you continue to experiment in your cooking, right? And adding different variety of flavors and seasonings. We've shared a few of those seasonings with you today. But again, feel free to experiment. That's what this whole cooking thing is about, right? Experimenting, trying different things in new and exciting ways.
And I actually forgot. I totally forgot the onion. But it's okay. Cooking is fine. If you forgot the onion like I did, all the flavors are there. But also adding the onion is great. But as we were saying, I think we said this last time, there's no such things as mistakes when you're cooking. There's only happy accidents.
That's right. So if you want a little additional flavor, go ahead, chop up your onion. Are we going to slice that? Are we going to chop it? What are you thinking?
You can either chop or dice it. Again, that chopping is a more rough cut. It doesn't have to be perfect. Dicing is going to make it a little bit smaller. Doesn't need to be perfect. We're cooking. Everything's in one pot. It's going to be delicious no matter what.
Okay. Well, there we go. We got ourselves some delicious pasta. Incorporates a lot of the nutrients that our body needs. We hope that you enjoy it. We hope that you continue to experiment and cook between now and the next time we see you. We have one more class left. And do we want to give them a hint of what we're going to be going over next week, or do we want to keep it a secret?
I think we should keep it a secret.
All right. Secret it is.
It will be delicious, I'll tell you that.
All right. Until next time.
We'll see you soon. Keep cooking.